Now, can you all hear me on the live? William Compton, can you hear us on the live? Or staff? I don't think it's gonna stay up there. Okay. Let's do it this way. Okay, Steph said yes, you can hear us now. Okay. All right. I'm not real techie. I have people that can tell me for me. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, we're good. All right, so we're on Zoom. We've got our slides going. Thank you all for coming out. We appreciate you being here. We're excited to talk to you about FLOC, get your all's thoughts and opinions, and help us, be active and engaged community members. So, go ahead and start us off.
Yeah, so Henry County, obviously, give me liberty or give me death. Stephanie, can you specify, please?
Well, do you want us to go back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not bad.
To the second slide, please, Stephanie. Thank you. You hold there for a moment. Good deal. All right. So my name is Anne. It's nice to meet you all. I've lived in Kentucky for the past 5 years, and I moved to Henry County. I've lived here for about 2. Just says a little bit about me. I raised my garden. I had chickens. I'm really enjoying the small town life that Henry County offers, and so I'm excited to be here and a member of the community.
I'm Bethany. I've been here since the day I was born. My family's been in this county since the late 1700s. In 2022, I was told I wasn't allowed to have a political event in the county, so I started a nonprofit for the protections to hold political events and educate my people. Since then, I've done a million things, went to a million trainings. I have national leadership and training credentials as well as state, and I've recently been elected onto the statewide board of P4 and P3 organizations in the state. We coordinate together on things like the Protect Our Schools campaign, the Amy Bashir campaign, Vote No on to Abortion Rights campaign, and I haven't lost the campaign yet. So, on the road. Next slide, that's me.
All right, so our goals for today, my goal personally is that I hope you leave this conversation with more information about the technology that we're going to talk about, automatic license plate readers, and your own ideas about whether or not this is appropriate for our community. So that's my goal. Destiny?
My goal is a little bit different. I want people to understand the processes in which things are able to be kept under wraps, and so you don't have a choice who is responsible for different elements of implementing policy and putting your tax dollars, and what you can do about that going forward. Collectively, we want you to understand FLOC, the risk of having FLOC in our community, and we want you to have a voice in a process such as this, where we haven't had one in a minute.
All right, so automatic license plate readers. This is a brief overview. So when we say FLOC is sort of like a Kleenex of facial tissue, so it's a brand name. There are lots of different kinds of automatic license plate readers. These can be purchased by law enforcement, private businesses, individuals. In Eminence right now, there are 4 FLOC cameras installed by the police department, and a 5th that is perhaps going to be installed by the local car dealership. These cameras capture images of passing cars, converting the license plates into trackable data, but they also keep information about the make, model, color, any notable distinctive features of the car.
The fingerprint of your car. If you have a little ding in your back fender, even if you change your license plate and take all your bumper stickers off, that ding in your back fender is your fingerprint. So it is a scan of your automobile.
Yep. And this information is stored within both the local agency who's installed the cameras, but then also within FLOC itself. So the company in its own right owns its data and has different policies about whether or not it gets rid of that data. This information is often used to compare against hot lists, so if there's stolen vehicles, if there's an Amber Alert, things like that, unknown list of vehicles, it's worth searching in something like this database. However, because it records every single car that drives by, there's also a risk for everyday citizens having their data shared in ways that they may not either be aware of or that can be taken advantage of. So Stephanie, can you go to the next slide, please?
So here's what we know so far. The first mention ever of clock or license plate readers, and we say clock, and again, there's multiple brand names, there's multiple models. They could be smart street lights, they could be a different brand, there's a brand that starts with U, we have all different times. But so we have the first mention in April. And then the Henry County local made sure to let citizens know they existed, because otherwise we have no other information. Mad love journalism. We went to the Eminence City Council meeting, and I knew that was going to get total meeting minutes, because that was the only meeting minutes that were not uploaded online. But on December 10th, I was able to get a hold of the meeting minutes to find out that Chief Wilcoxon entered into a contract with Flock to install the 4 ADL cameras. In November, he said that they were installed, and then also, like I said, Brown here is wanting to buy a fifth to install in Eminence. Also during this time period, I talked to Republican Senator and Attorney Adrian Southworth, who was our representative. She firmly believes that these are going to go before the Supreme Court within 5 years to be found unconstitutional. The line falls with the number of cameras and then where they are located. If you have cameras at all of the exit points of your city, that's a constitutional violation of the right to privacy, because that has the ability to build profiles on your entire life. If you have one camera somewhere in town, that's not a violation. It's not building a profile of the collective in that way, in the same way as what we've done here in Eminence to violate constitutional law.
Yeah, the real problem is being fed into a commercial cloud database. Like if law enforcement used private, license plate reader cameras and that stayed in Eminence, there would be no problem with that whatsoever. Nobody would have any issue.
Right.
Yeah. But Eminence does not own the data. They only have access for 30 days. Flock owns the data. They keep it indefinitely. Flock has multiple different other platforms that they can use that data without our permission to input it. Nova is one, Raven is another, that they build personal profiles. So they will compile, take your license plate when you pass the reader. This is this person. Sorry, I don't know your name. We're going to call you Ann. This is Ann. Ann also has records of having been married to Bobby for 10 years. Bobby is in prison for drugs. We need to follow Ann because she used to be with Bobby who does drugs. There's multiple ways that they can put together a profile about the entirety of your life from public records and then target people if they want to. Not saying that they could. And there have been people, I've lived here my whole life, that have constantly been targeted by different people in the community, regardless, of whether that was
And just to kind of piggyback off what Destiny's saying, when we say that these access to data is more than just the 4 cameras in Eminence. If you drive over to Shelby County, you'll get hit by Flock cameras. If you drive to Oldham County, same thing. Jackson County. Many of our neighboring counties have these cameras, and Flock allows counties to engage in purchasing contracts with other counties to access their data. So it's not just did I enter Eminence, it's where did I go across these different places. That data is available for people to compile. It doesn't necessarily automatically build your profile, but that's information that is all stored there.
And I'll interject here that as Kentuckians, we don't get down with federal overreach and feds on our property. These cameras are exactly what we have to have in the street and resisting. And then when we're, like, these are the locations, and Keith Peter said he would like one in all cities and towns in the county. In order, a mayor has full executive power in cities and towns, the full executive authority. If something falls within an already existing budget, if he gives the cops $15,000 for miscellaneous equipment, and the cops cost $12,000, and the camera costs $12,000, the mayor can sign off on that without any public comment, any city council vote, any notification to the public whatsoever, because that is within his realm of executive power. If the fiscal court wants to pass a county-wide ordinance, they have to notify the public. They have to allow public comment, and they have to take a vote in the light. But if we're gonna go around city to city, pushing the paper under the table for something that benefits our community so much, why do you have to keep it a secret? Next slide. This is the location of all the cameras. This is exactly what they look like that we found so far. We'll find out about drownings, earthquakes, delay, where they put their color as well.
Next slide.
I have questions about city limits and where the cameras are placed that I'm going to be checking into. Some of them are a little outside of what maybe city limits, so that could be one way we could get them removed. There are states across the nation that are fighting uphill legal battles trying to get these cameras taken out now that they've realized what's being done with their community's data with those cameras. Court in Massachusetts, the highest court in Massachusetts has already found them unconstitutional, and so that's working its way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. And like I said, Adrian Southwark believes within 5 years, those will be found to be unconstitutional. And when they're found to be unconstitutional, then we have a right to sue those who sign contracts to break, violate our rights.
Okay, so the next section is just a little bit more about flock. If you could make that,
Yeah, that's a little bit more
yeah,
sensitive.
that's perfect. You sort of mentioned this, but as was also mentioned by our friendly audience member, it would not be so much a problem if a private company were not involved in owning and having this data. Sorry. I'll speak a little louder. We've already sort of alluded to these things as well about contracting with other organizations, whether that be other counties, other police departments, other private businesses, in order to access further information from different cameras placed about. And as we also said, this puts people at risk for having their whereabouts tracked, whether you're doing something illegal or not. And the majority of people who are being caught by these cameras have not committed or are suspected of a crime. You're just driving down the road to go through Eminence.
37% of the camera readings are incorrect, and 10% don't even get the right state. So you could be targeted because the camera misread a 2 for a Z. Now you're, in a stolen vehicle.
So we'll go through that a little later. If you can go to the next slide, please.
How can that be so inaccurate when, like, you cross the bridge and you get charged for that?
Because they're using AI. It's not actually, it's not
It's different
the
technology.
same optical image recognition that the older cameras use. They're feeding it into AI models, which are trained and do make mistakes. And it's part of the reason why this is problematic. Because it can eventually be fed into predictive policing because, if you drive through Eminence today but not tomorrow, well, that might be suspicious.
Yeah, and we also have Ed on the phone. Ed is a national flock researcher and organizer. So if we have questions that go above our head, Ed will chime in at the end and help us figure that out too. So it's like looking back on COVID. Let's think of this potentially we're Democrats. I'm not a Democrat, but potentially we're left-leaning. COVID, when the right-leaning wanted to go to church, wanted to go to Applebee's, wanted to go on spring break, and the left was saying, no, you can't do that. Had we had block cameras then, it would have been the right saying, you don't have a right to invade our privacy. You don't have a right to tell us where we can't go, under this law. And now, to this end, we're saying this because obviously we have an authoritarian regime in charge, where the right is supporting that and the left is not. The fact of the matter is, representatives constantly change, and neither side wants their privacy violated. They want to retain their personal rights under the Constitution. Next slide.
So I mentioned this earlier
Yes.
about hot lists, right? And like, that does make sense for a way to fight or identify people who have stolen vehicles or who are suspected of committing a crime. The thing we're trying to point out though, right, is that there's lots of collateral collection of data of which we do not fully understand what is being done. And Flock has come under a lot of criticism in the past several years as other places around the country have installed these cameras with regard to misuse. And so we'll kind of go on to our next section.
NOVA. The NOVA software is one of the software programs that Flock, the corporation, uses your data for. So they will take their license plate reader information and input that into the NOVA system. NOVA system is a software that will automatically link your car to every single other public record. So you own your car, that's registered in your name, they'll get everything else registered in your name. They'll get all the public registers, like everything, every speeding ticket, every marriage, every divorce, every will that your name is on. Anything that you are attached to as a part of public record then becomes compiled in your personal profile that is owned by a corporation.
And we've also mentioned this before, but on Flock's FAQ page itself, they sort of try to dissuade some of the concerns about your Fourth Amendment constitutional right to privacy, saying that Flock, of course, is not a GPS tracker. But then again, does not acknowledge the fact that you can link Flock systems to one another, and that in effect becomes tracking. So that's a little too close for comfort for me with regard to that information. And I think that's sort of what Destiny is saying too, is that people are questioning whether or not this is indeed too close for comfort and whether or not this does violate our constitutional rights. Something that it's worth keeping an eye on as we move forward and as these cameras continue to be used in our communities and others, with how people take advantage of the information that's there, and then also we understand better what the legality of the matter is.
So the cost to taxpayers, obviously it'd be out $3,000 camera, that's $12,000 right now with Lynn Chevrolet buying a fifth. When it comes to maintenance, like say that someone runs off the road and hits a block camera, or I don't have a paintball gun. Somebody lights it up with paintballs. I don't own one. Just before I get but so something happens with block cameras. Chief Will Thompson can't go turn that off. Chief Will Thompson can't put that pole back up. Block owns the camera, Block owns the data, and Block owns the maintenance. We have to call them, pay whatever they say the charge is for them to come out here to fix that. If we collectively as a county decide we don't want Block in our county, we can't remove them at all. There's states that have been fighting for years to try to get their cameras removed. And they're just in the ground with black garbage back over them because that's the only option they've got. They're permanent.
If the mayor has the right to put them there, does the mayor not have the right to take them away?
No.
There's contracts.
Once they're in the ground, you have no right. You do not touch them. No one. You can't touch them. I can't touch them. He can't touch them. Mayor can't touch them. Governor can't touch them.
The other point about cost before we move on is you mentioned in 5 years this likely goes to the Supreme Court. Well, the taxpayers are going to pay the legal fees when the government gets sued for this
Yes.
stuff.
When they're found unconstitutional, so we pay to put them in, we're gonna pay to maintain them. And when they're found unconstitutional, we will have to pay an attorney to fight them in court for however long we have to fight them. And the entire time, they're still running.
And they can
We
do a lot of
never
harm between now.
get to turn them off, anything, no matter what, once they're in the ground. And that's my main problem. If they're so good for our community, why are we passing the paper under the table instead of talking about it in public? Yes, ma'am.
Sure. Let me just repeat the question for the room. So Nancy online, in case you couldn't hear that, she asked if you enter into a contract with Flock, what was it?
If they do not renew the contract when it expires, what
What
happens?
happens?
And so what Ed said is that in multiple cities, when they get renewed the contract, the city tried to just take the cameras out of the ground and Flock reinstalled them. And they had to put black garbage bags over them while they fight them in court. So, we got this done to us and we didn't get a say. And in my opinion, it's actually institution of policy. You are instituting a policy where your entire community is under mass surveillance in violation of their civil rights. And there's been no public comment, no discussion, no question and answer, no information. It was just done.
Discussed for months in open city council meetings, just nobody takes the time to show up.
I was there.
You were there at the last time.
Rick, you all also, on your agendas, you're not mentioning block cameras. There's no way for people to know that they need to show up to prevent their constitutional rights from being violated because we elect representatives that we trust not to violate our rights. And when you don't put something on an agenda for us to know that you're gonna discuss it, there's no way for us
I
to
think
know.
that people don't take interest in their communities enough until after they become enraged with certain issues.
You shouldn't take,
There was
you
no
shouldn't take one
public
instance of
notice
people
that,
showing up.
that we were at risk of having our rights violated.
And it's not like this
It's
is
like
just
there was
happening
nothing
here,
put
this is
out that said,
nationwide.
hey, we're considering putting you all under mass surveillance, you have an opinion. The special meeting agenda for October 20th has no mention of any contract discussions whatsoever.
I believe that's because of the special meeting. I wasn't at that meeting. It was a
Yeah.
special meeting.
The
typical city
agendas
council
aren't,
meetings.
the agendas aren't put out beforehand anyway. And then when there was a special meeting, there was no mention of the contract with Flock. There's no way for anyone to know that they need to show up and have an opinion. And judging by the minutes, it was never actually discussed, Chief Wilcoxon and Fred Downey, because Fred Downey does have the authority with Chief Wilcoxon to go off and do this. It was never discussed at the city council. Am I correct on that?
It was discussed multiple times, multiple meetings, multiple months. People just don't take the time to show up and
Right.
agree to these meetings until after the fact.
I believe that if they knew that they were going to be placed under mass surveillance, that they would show up, and I believe that they deserve the opportunity to do so. But they have to be informed. that they're going to be put under mass surveillance when they're
I
discussing
just
it.
think
like
they should
people
stay
don't
informed in
know.
the community, no matter the topic or issue.
Hmm?
So, yeah.
I think they should choose to stay informed, no matter what's going on. They
Yeah.
just want to know what's going on in the
Well,
community. That's
In a
what-
perfect world, but how many newspaper articles got written about this when it was out? You know, our newspapers have been gutted. We barely, you know, no offense to you personally, but
That was in every meeting.
yeah.
Yeah,
But we
and
should have, we
Joe
should have
told
5
us
of
about
them,
it.
right?
Because the
And he
city
can't
did
do it all.
meeting minutes. Joe who told us they existed.
You understand that we instituted Joe into this. We're the
Thank
ones
you for letting
that
us
went to
know, Joe,
him.
because our representatives weren't gonna let us know.
We're the ones that went to him and said, this is what we want to do. We want to put it in the paper so everybody knows about it. That's what we did.
Yes.
Thank you.
And
The
that's
city
good.
did it, that's the problem. Like, the city did not put the meeting minutes online.
But they-
Did not put it in the agenda.
Well-
We're not targeting you all, and I'm not saying he is the one that did this to us. In my opinion, Fred Downey is the
That's
one
my name.
who did this by not
Well, okay.
effectively representing his community and communicating
I
with
think
them.
you believe systems are innately corrupt by nature. I think you're under the impression that systems are innately corrupt by nature. And I don't believe that's what's going on in the city. of Eminence.
Maybe.
in
I'm under that
small, large
impression because
municipalities.
it's taking the same trajectory in other places, but it's being put it in before people have a chance to speak out. And that's the thing, if they get it in the ground, before we have a chance to say no, we can't do anything about it. And that is a pattern of install across the nation being perpetuated by the company itself and
Had
the
the public showed up to meetings, those meetings are empty, it was empty as this room every month. Had the public taken the interest in what's going on in their communities, they would have known. Had they shown up, had you come to April or May or June, July, August meeting, you would have heard flock hearings. It may not be printed in the minutes, it may not be printed in the newspaper, but you would have had knowledge that your community leaders were
if
speaking.
you're discussing flock cameras and they're not being put in the minutes available to the public, then the minutes are incomplete and do not align with what that meeting was concerned. I've
I'm
read
not saying they
every
were
single one
discussed
of
at
the
every
minutes.
meeting, but they were discussed.
People shouldn't have to show up to babysit in city council of a small town representatives they trusted not to violate their
It's
rights.
It's not
Come at their own destiny, it's not babysit, it's just staying
I'm
informed.
not-
Regardless of the details, these cameras have gone up from here to El Paso. And this is a problem
All
for,
over this nation.
yeah.
This is factual facts.
And to the next point, these cameras were on Android version 8, which came out in 2017 and went end of support in 2021, and it is really easy to hack the shit out of them if you are in close range.
To my knowledge, they've never been hacked.
Okay.
I'm not a computer.
Good luck.
Though.
These are facts. They're not really anything to argue about. I can pull up all the minutes and demonstrate. I can pull up agendas, I can pull up laws, I can pull up articles. This is a factual, my opinion about whose problem it is and who I'm pissed at is my opinion. But this is factual conversation, and I'd be happy to get coffee with you anytime and run my mouth about this county. 'Cause like I said, I've lived here 45 years. This is not the first thing that the people in this county that have gotten too big for their britches have done to us without our consent or support. So like I'm sitting here all day and talk about it, but this is a factual presentation about law, not an argument.
I'm not here to argue.
What's your question? Do you have a question?
I'm just entitled to my opinion.
Yes, and thank you. Yeah,
No, no.
all right.
I'm just ready.
Yeah, let's see, we can get back to it. I appreciate you all chiming in. Let's just kind of get through this last little section that we have, and then we can kind of open it up
And Ed can answer questions about more of the national overall. So these are articles from all over about how problematic flock cameras are. That you can kind of just like a little bit run through slowly. it's hacked pretty consistently. 35 agencies have had their login and password stolen by hackers. In Russia, the access credentials are being sold online to hackers. So if I was technologically smart, which I can't even get the thing working, but if I could hack, I could get my ex-boyfriend all his whereabouts, where he was, who he's with. I could do whatever I wanted with that data. If I had enough money to pay a hacker, or if I was a hacker myself. So there are bad people in the world that could harm you, even if not the obvious. Agencies and whatnot.
Something that stands out to me, this was back a few slides, but Stephanie, don't worry about it, is that Flock has continually refused any sort of independent security audit. That to me is a concern with regard to how much they actually purport to be transparent and for their communities. I think if you are going to have such involvement in people's lives, then an independent security audit would only help substantiate that you are doing the right things to maintain security of this data, or help you make your system better. That's something that stands out to me, just about how they engage with the criticism that we're sort of seeing come up in different communities with regard to concerns for safety.
And to that end, they're the only company that refuses to allow for independent studies.
We mentioned the mismatch license plate issues. Again, the county, I believe, incurs the cost if we make a mistake about an arrest or pursuing someone based on the information that Flock gathers if there is a mistake.
Targeting, like if someone is targeted by these cameras, they can sue the city of Eminence and we owe that.
And then sort of lastly, the information has been used to stalk individuals, whether this was personal or politically motivated. The Flock cameras provide what they call a transparency portal, which is where people of Eminence could have access to see sort of the general aggregate data of the searches that are involved. But people use really vague terms like investigation to justify their search, and that's a concern if that information is being used to then pursue personal gain. And of course, we don't have any evidence or any reason to suspect that that would happen in Eminence, but that's something that has been occurring in the past in other counties and areas.
And to that end, like Jeff said, that hasn't happened in Eminence. Like we may have good, honest cops that don't use those cameras for bad. However, they don't own the data, and they're not the only ones that have access to it. So just because these two cops aren't going to do that doesn't mean one down the road isn't going to do that. That we don't know, that isn't in our community, or the best.
All right. I think do you want to just get to our discussion questions?
And
Yeah, Stephanie, if you could just keep going. It's like the second to last slide, I believe.
well, no. So the question is, are we pointing fingers at the sheriff or the police? Because they apparently believe that we are. But in actuality, we're concerned that Flock takes advantage of communities like ours, that their cameras are put in unbeknownst to the citizens. They don't know any better, and then they use us as an excuse to put it into the next town, as we're seeing in Henry County. They are a business, they are a business that is a corporation that owns our data. Corporations buy and sell people's information all the time for profit. And there's no evidence that Flock is going to be different when we have such a history of being able to prove the misuse and security issues. a community with zero violent crime, zero amber alerts, zero silver alerts, a property crime rate more than 50% below the national average, we cannot justify mass surveillance to the extent of violating our own civil rights in Eminence, Kentucky. This is not a justifiable policy that has been implemented in our county. Next slide.
I think this was actually in the newspaper, it's our article itself about if this technology helps one person, then it is worth all that it does. And that would be great. And I would like to see the help that can be done. But what about the possible harms? What about being falsely accused? I think we put people at risk. And, you know, if you even say, you might personally find that this is comforting, and that's great. But others may not. And I think, as you pointed out, about being engaged in the community, something we can do is continue to follow up, right? Maybe this is the charge to action, to show up and to become more engaged. There might not be anything we can do about what was previously something we weren't paying attention to, but what we can do is now show up and be involved. I find that to be an inspiring and good reason to start showing up, even if it is something now that we are, it is harder to undo now that we've gotten here. But personally, I'm interested in being more engaged as a result of finding out about these policies. So.
To the end of engagement, I talk to 7,000 voters in our district every single year. 4,000 on the phone, 7,000 at their door. I am engaged and I'm working on shot callers in Louisville and with Nancy and police contracts in Louisville. I trusted that Eminence would not do this to people, and that was my mistake. I trusted our people.
Do you think shot spotters are bad? You said shot spotters, do you think they're bad?
I've done work on mapping shot spotters and looking into contracts there, which kind of is the step before we got to this.
When those cameras also get used for voice recognition, AI, that's a problem, and that's what Flock is doing. They're using the gunshot cameras to do voice recognition.
Shot spotters?
No, Flock.
They're using shot spotters for voice recognition?
The Flock cameras have microphones that can detect guns. That is a feature that they offer, but they're also starting to use those same microphones.
It's not a camera.
Shot spotters,
I'm not talking about shot spotters. I'm talking about Flock
So if
cameras.
a car backfires, it alerts police to go. They go thinking it's a gunshot with their guns on, when all it was an old car that backfired, and it is just as problematic as Flock, just because it's not a camera. Definitely not. All right, next. There's no evidence it reduces crime. We've given evidence that it has put people in danger, that it has caused security problems. There's no evidence that it actually reduces crime. But there's evidence that it causes. Next slide. Why are you hearing about this now? No time for public comment. If you're not like me, where you're gonna go flip the table, no, you won't do it. And there's not very many people like me in this county, not like mine. There used to be. But they all got targeted this year. Next slide. So, is anybody like, what are your all concerns with the Flock camera? What do y'all think?
I'm just here to learn. I live in Shelby County, so this is all brand new to me. And I can see reasons to be real concerned. And I'm also thinking about a murder that happened in my neighborhood, not too long ago, a fellow was just shot at his front door, and I know you've heard of that. Well, they finally have arrested somebody, but they went around and asked neighbors, do they have those little ring cameras? You know, they were looking for any kind of camera that they could have.
They don't have to ask anymore.
And so I don't know what kind of cameras are around, and I don't know how they found the people, but would not that be a good thing if they could find who murdered someone? Uh-huh.
And with those ring cameras existing and stuff, that there's already an element of surveillance. And then,
Well, right, but they don't go very far or whatnot. But I know that was something they were looking at initially. But then I don't know. Obviously, whoever did that had to leave town. They had to drive somewhere out of the subdivision or whatnot. I'm just wondering, isn't that a good thing that if they could track them?
That had to be found in Tennessee somehow.
it is a good thing.
And
If
we've done that.
it doesn't violate your constitutional right to privacy. But this violates your constitutional right to privacy, period.
'Cause it's
And
being
if you're
fed.
able to look at ring cameras at movement from people's houses and
Yeah.
people give you permission to that information that they have, then you can look at ring cameras all the way to the coast.
Well, all I'm saying is I can see some good and some bad. I can see that it can be misused. So it seems to me that it is those folks who make laws' responsibility to say what can be done with the data.
Which is why we shouldn't
Yes,
have
but
rushed
we
into
don't,
this.
we will never have that opportunity. That's not how these work.
Well, I don't know. The collection of data.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're I mean, in many ways, we're in bad shape right now because data is collected all the time. On your phone, I'm sitting here, it knows that I ordered something, it can hear me. You know, we're kind of in that situation. But it does seem to me that you need some laws to substantiate that. But I can see some really good things that
Right,
could be,
and as
could
to
be
your
done
phone,
with it.
you know, you have the choice whether to take that with you or not. You have the choice to whether you're being monitored when you leave your house. As to the ring cameras, the people in those homes have the choice
Yeah.
to give that data or not.
Right.
But we didn't have a choice to install block cameras, and we don't have a choice in what happens with that data, and we don't have a choice whether we can get them out or not. And that's where the line is for me, whether or not
You
our
have a
rights
choice
are being violated because
what they
we
do
don't
with
have a
theirs.
choice, or we are the manager of our own privacy.
All I'm saying is.
Yeah, I
think
mean,
there's
I hear
some
you.
good things. I'm glad they found whoever murdered my friend Timothy.
The chief asked you
If
a
they-
question.
Do you have a choice what they do with theirs?
Who? In the library?
It's not getting fed into a national commercial database.
All it takes is somebody to
How do we
be,
know
all
it's
it
not
takes.
monitored by Digital or one of those?
The library isn't violating my constitutional rights.
You made the choice to be
You
here,
made the choice to be here.
but you're being recorded. You're being recorded
I drove,
anyway.
I drove past 2 flock cameras
I
on my
made a
way
choice
here
to
too,
be
so
here
what's your
because they
point?
don't violate my constitutional rights.
That doesn't make it okay,
That's
and it
not-
doesn't make it
that's not
non-violate my
comparable.
4th Amendment rights.
So you have no reason to.
Other comparison. I don't understand that comparison. For a library,
Because somebody can take that information and decide to do whatever they want to with it.
but they're not compiling that information with my entire public record. I know they're not.
What
because
kind of
it's illegal.
argument is that?
I do know they're not.
The argument is this: you're being recorded regardless of wherever you go. Period. Whether you want to be or not. You walk into 5-star, you're being recorded as soon as you go on there. You go
Okay,
down,
and
go
that's
down
going
these-
to their commercial
So then
servers
why
at their
did you need
store.
to
down
put
these
in,
streets,
so
and
I'm being
you-
recorded everywhere I go. Why did you need 4 cameras that you don't even own the access to, but we have
I
the
do own the
liability?
access to it.
That
That's
is
where you're
proven by a higher court in another state that is a violation of our constitutional rights. Do
Where
you,
you're wrong is we do.
do
own the
you respect
rid of it
our
every 30 days.
constitutional rights? Do you respect our constitutional rights?
Absolutely, that's why I'm
Okay.
a police officer.
So then you understand that this is a violation of those constitutional rights.
I have a question.
So you know more than judges and attorneys.
You said they get rid of it every 30 days. Who's they?
They fly,
How do you know?
because that's
They
a
don't.
contract.
He signed the contract.
Unless we go.
We
and
only
say
own it for 30 days.
It's gone,
They keep
30
it
days,
forever.
30 days.
Who keeps?
They don't.
And they have never submitted to an independent audit, so we can know that for
And
sure.
then they sell the access to it to other agencies.
I'm just wondering. They just said
That's what they told us.
Contractually, you think.
So you're saying.
Essentially, our community is
30 days,
solid.
and you're saying they keep it forever.
They keep it forever. Flock keeps it forever. The Eminence Police and whoever they allowed access, like they may have said, the Henry County Sheriff and the Shelby County Police Department has allowed access to our data. They have access to it for 30 days. Flock retains that forever. They own that forever. That is how the company
Nudge, nudge.
is set up.
How do you know that?
Well, let's talk to Ed. Ed's the national flock researcher and organizer, and he's been working on flock.
curious because there's two.
Ed, we're gonna take you over here because we are having like some questions and whatnot. So, Ed, do you mind to come on camera or? Sorry to put all these on you. And you're on mute still too. This is Ed. Hey, Ed.
Hey friends.
So this is Ed, and if you want to tell them like your credentials or whatever, go ahead and I'll get you set up there.
Oh, no, he's just, we've lost his eye.
Oh, what did I do?
Display cable jiggled.
I think I locked the screen.
Sorry, Ed. Could you repeat yourself? No, it's all good.
I accidentally locked the screen, y'all. I told you I'm not techie. I have techie people. All right, so here we go. This is Joe with the local. We have a couple of citizens here and a couple of cops. So
Sure. Hey friends, I'm Ed. I've been researching and organizing around the use of the police use of surveillance technologies for about a decade now, with a specific focus on flock safety since 2022. And I've been involved in some of the research that came out earlier this year that showed that flock was being used for things like immigration enforcement and whatnot.
totally it.
So have a lot of experience. I've been in the software quite a bit, and I understand how the software works, how customers use it, and how Flock operates as a company. So happy to answer any questions and be a resource as I can.
So what questions do y'all have?
So, it's been said that Flock deletes all information after 30 days. Is that correct, and how is that proven?
So Flock, the retention period that Flock gives is only applicable to the customer. Within the contract, within every contract, Flock has language that says the customer owns the data, but the customer gives Flock the right to use the data, to own the data, to access the data into perpetuity. This is standard language that they have in every contract. So Flock, the retention period named of 30 days is only applicable to the customer. And if the customer wants to access data after 30 days, they can go to Flock and request specific data sets because
I
Flock
see.
retains the data.
They retain it forever.
So, Flock retains the information indefinitely?
Yeah. We get lied
the
to.
language in the contract is into perpetuity. Into perpetuity is
Okay.
the language in the contract. We have no, because it's a private company, we have no insight into exactly what that means. But we are aware of the fact that they are using their customers' data for training other products. So they are using the data to build new products to sell to their customers.
Well, that's interesting. Thank you.
It's all in the way things are said, how they omit information from you,
And if there are questions about this, I would be happy to share the language, the standard language in the contract so everyone can see it.
That'd be great.
Yeah, it's very convoluted legalese. It's dense language, but it's they have a good lawyer team. I'll say that.
A good lawyer team, well, that's great.
Does he have,
Do you have any questions, Joe?
does he have documentation of their retention or what they do with it? Can he prove that or is it just words?
I
I
don't
can
know.
say no.
Can you ask?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
We've got one of the police officers from Eminence ask you a question.
I just asked if you had that in writing, if you could prove that, like, could you show me that in writing, what they do with the data, or is it just words that I'm supposed to trust you on?
Yeah,
He's
I can
written
show you-
several
yeah, this is
things. He's
language.
written
This
several
is-
things I can give you.
He is
Happy to
personally.
shake your-
I'm sorry, I could,
Third-party source we could go to, where he
He-
gathered his information from. 'Cause
I didn't-
say
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Right, I'd just like to see where
He's wanting some of your like research data to prove that what you're saying is true. Can you just like send that, drop that in our chat and I'll
Sure.
get it to him?
Yeah, happy to do.
Destiny, I have a question. When they get that data, are they going to share it with the public? Because that's one of your key issues, is that the public has not been made aware of any of this, and they're not going to like it when they find out that the facts are true, and then the people still are not going to know.
What was that?
So that would be a question for the police. How do they plan to share the data with the community and the information about how data is obtained and retained?
Yeah, I've requested the contract and all that information, Nana, and I will, I'll let Ed probably help me, weed that out and put it out to the public, like our actual contract, but I'm not getting that till my birthday, January 5th.
Okay.
My birthday is January 5th, by the way. That's the day I get them
Okay.
records. Yeah,
Well, I just think it's important that you have community members there who it's being implied that these facts are not true when in fact they are, and then when they get the facts, somebody, I know that you will share them through social media, but that's how this happened, that nobody was made aware of any of this.
right. There was no communication with the public
Right.
until after they were in the ground and it was too late. And even the minutes that contained the information about Flock were kept off of the city website until after
Right.
they were in the ground.
Well, like the lady, I don't know her name, that's there asking the questions, you are asking good questions. But if you don't have the information to help you decide, are the risks worth the benefits, then you can't make a decision about whether or not you want that in your community.
Right.
And in fact, you weren't even asked.
Right. And a decision should not be made without all of this information and the public able to weigh in on that. That's what I'm
Yeah.
pissed off about.
Well, and the
The
other thing,
most.
I mean, not even to be pissed off, it's just the fact that we hire local officials. We're in a bigger city. We're in Louisville, and it happened here in Louisville. It's happening all the time. Technology is being purchased. We're being told, oh, well, it's only going to be used for this, and then the next thing we know, there's a contract to use it for something different. So,
And access
the
always
education-
expands.
Yeah, I don't know if people can hear me, but the community people need to know that they need to ask these questions and they need to demand the answers from your council and your police department. Okay, I'll be
Joe,
quiet.
do you have any questions?
I will have the language from a contract that shows that Flock reserves the right to use the data for training other products. I'll have that momentarily to share.
thank you.
The lady that was just speaking, I'm Joe Durbin, I'm with the Henry County local newspaper. What's your name, ma'am?
My name
Nancy.
is Nancy Cavalcante.
How you spell that? CAVALCANTE. V like Victor, CAV in the beginning, B like Victor. C-A-B?
Cab.
I'll get it from you.
Okay, I'll write it down,
I
yeah.
can't hear you. And you live in Louisville, correct?
I do.
She's on my board.
Okay.
And we've done a lot of work in our city, well, a group of us did, around the use of particularly ShotSpotter. We've done some research with Ed and the group that he works with around Flock. And we continue to monitor what our council is doing and what our police department is doing. Even this week in the news, we're hearing use of Flock that was never communicated to the community.
Yeah. Okay, well, I got what I needed from you.
Okay, thank you.
And sir, what is your name?
Yeah, my name is Ed Vogel, be like Victor, O-G-E-L.
Vogel? Mm-hmm. All
Yeah.
right. And where do you live at?
I'm in North Carolina right now.
North Carolina?
He moves around.
What part of North Carolina?
I would just like to leave it at North Carolina, if
Okay.
you don't mind.
All right. And the question I have for you is that you said you're gonna share a contract, the wording in it, but do you have the contract that this Eminence Police Department signed?
I do not, but I would love to see it. So if they'd be willing to share.
The point I'm making is that you're sending a piece of paper saying that this is what Flock's doing on their contract, but you don't particularly know what Eminence.
Right. I requested the
Correct.
contract.
Can I share what I just shared in the chat, which will be shared with all of you, is not specific to Eminence. It's the terms of service that Flock has for all of its customers. It's from their website.
It's
and
a
I'd be happy to
standard.
read the exact language that I was referencing earlier.
Okay, that's all I needed to know, sir.
So this says the customer grants Flock a non-exclusive, worldwide, perpetual, royalty-free license to use training data solely to improve Flock services. This includes training machine learning algorithms and supporting diagnostic and corrective efforts necessary for the continued use of Flock services.
All right, well,
It goes
sir,
on.
if you can send that in writing.
It's in the chat. It's in the chat.
And I would be happy to look at that for the article that I'm working on in the newspaper.
Definitely. It's in the chat. I shared it.
All right, thank you.
And as soon as I get the records from Chief Wilcoxon, I'll forward them over to you too.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Would you tell me your title again and what company you work for?
I do this in my free time.
Okay.
And I work with a group out of Chicago called Lucy Parsons Labs. And I'm also with a group called SASE, Southerners Against Surveillance Systems and Infrastructure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I am not paid for this. This is all out of my concern regarding the growing use of the surveillance state and the harms that it has for a number of people, including everyone in the room.
Thank you. Did he say we could go to the website and get the contract?
It's a standard contract that Flock uses.
But you
For
can get it
everywhere.
on, we can all get access to that.
Yeah, but it's not the specific Eminence contract. I requested that, and Chief Wilcoxon's gonna get it to me by January 5th.
Oh.
And so when I get that,
Okay.
you can write down your email, I'll email y'all
Okay.
a copy of it.
Hey, Destiny, does Eminence have a ordinance about timeline responses to open records requests?
About what?
How long they have to respond?
Well,
to open records?
they have to follow under state law. They have 5 days to say, like it's gonna cost this much and we'll give it to you in this time period. And then they have, 30 days to either get it to me or have like justification for the reason that they can't in that amount of time. And then you can file like civil actions against them from
Here
there.
in Louisville, we are under the state law here in Louisville, but we also have a city ordinance that helps with the timeline. That just seems like a long timeline, but okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
yeah, we don't. We're so small, Nana, that there's not really, like Louisville has to have those ordinances because they always say, we're so bogged down with the 100 million records requests, but I don't think the Eminence ever has records requests really that consistent.
Yeah, that just seems like a long time.
Yeah, it does, but you know.
Can I offer that, one of my concerns.
Any other
around
questions for
automated
people that are above our head?
I don't have any.
Hey, Destiny, Ed's trying to talk. Ed has something else to say.
Okay.
Yeah, can I offer that, my concern, my primary concern around the use of automated license plate readers is that they are they have significant power, right? Granting their customers the use of, whomever is using them, significant power to monitor anyone. This isn't an issue with the police using them. This is an issue with the corporations using them. This is an issue with anyone using automated license plate readers because of the power that they grant people to search and monitor and to know wherever someone is at any given time, right? So I think what we need to be really clear about is the power that they hold. And everything that Destiny was saying earlier regarding civil liberties, I think we should also be asking ourselves, because police use them, if police need ALPRs in order to do their job, right? If police need a technology that inherently violates our civil liberties to do their job, even in the cases in which it can be beneficial, even in the cases in which it can help solve a murder, it can help identify a missing person. If the police need this technology to do their job, then there is a structural problem with policing that needs to be solved, right? If
Sir, this is Joe Durbin from the local.
Go ahead.
Sure.
I've got to say that you've got me totally baffled and confused when you say because the police department use a tool to assist them that there's a problem with the police.
Why don't you let him
If they
finish?
have to violate the rights of every citizen to do
Well,
their
that's
job, that's what he's saying.
But that's not what he said.
That is exactly what I said. The tool violates.
Wait, we're all talking.
That's not our government doing that though,
No, say that.
and that's the difference. The violation.
Put up a
License plate readers violate the Fourth Amendment.
Here you go.
Would that be an issue?
No,
Not an
not an issue, because it's not being fed into a national commercial database that is
And compiled with other records.
controlled by Henry County.
issue.
Using cameras is not a problem. Using cameras that get fed into a commercial AI database that it can be searchable by anybody from here to Timbuktu for any reason at all.
Technology involved, it's bad.
Right.
The technology.
They're aggregating everything from these cameras into other systems to build personal profiles. Yes, we know that.
This is how ICE.
Yes, we know that. That's what we're
With
saying.
flock, yes. There are 2 flock cameras in the Lowe's parking lot in Shelbyville, Kentucky, and there are many confirmed stories of they like a
But the private business,
right,
they
but
have a right to put up any cameras they so choose. Those-
does that give?
And he's still gonna need you to clarify what his question.
Well, it's not that they're doing business there; it's that they're contractors going for their day job to do roofing or flooring or whatever it is they do, and then they get targeted at that Home Depot parking lot for big raids. That they bring lots of ICE people to intimidate them to make examples out of them.
You understand that the ones.
It's targeting.
You understand that citizens could be getting on the mix too, right?
You understand that when you go to Kroger and you see that big thing sitting in the middle of the parking lot.
Yeah,
That's not the
what
government. They're
That doesn't make it okay that Kroger's doing it.
Well, not,
Right.
they're private business contracted with them.
I think the
Oh my God, it's like
that
beating
this
your head against the wall around
technology
here.
is so powerful that it violates
have you seen the
everyone's
dark
right,
room?
no matter who uses
I
it.
can't, wait a minute, David.
Right? The technology, even if the data is locally hosted, not just Flock's database, even if the data is locally hosted, the technology allows the customer, it allows anyone who can access the data to violate someone's Fourth Amendment rights. The technology is inherently designed to do that. There's no way to avoid that,
Well,
even if the data is locally hosted.
well, I think,
that is, can I finish, please?
go right
And I
ahead.
think that is the concern that everyone should have, because there's no way to avoid that. It inherently violates the Fourth Amendment.
Yes.
Okay, now, and this is Mr. Durbin again. The point that I'm trying to make is that that's something that's going to have to be litigated, which ultimately is going to go to the Supreme Court. You're saying that this is violations of the Fourth Amendment and everything. You're assuming that. But
I can
that's not-
send,
but that's-
there's been cases.
But that's not been decided with Flock at the Supreme Court.
Yes, it has. Well, the Massachusetts highest court, Massachusetts Supreme Court has ruled this
But that's not the- That's
unconstitutional.
not the United States Supreme
And it is
Court.
going
And that-
from there to there.
Excuse me, and that's not the Kentucky Supreme Court. These things have to go through, we can't just say things are Second
When,
Amendment, First Amendment, Fourth Amendment rights violations. You can have your opinion on that, but to state it as a fact,
Mr.
well,
Cox,
when it's been found by other courts to be a fact, and the attorneys in our state that have been our representative senators say that it is a fact. I can give you the court cases that have proved that this is a violation of the constitutional rights of the citizens. I'm not aware of any court case that says that it's not.
Destiny, let Ed respond to him.
well, that's fine.
I'll get you a bunch of court cases. Ed, can we get a bunch of the court cases? I know Adrian sent me the one from Massachusetts where it found to be unconstitutional, but can we also
well, anyway, I didn't mean to get
get a
in the weeds
list.
on this. People are,
We're in the weeds.
I mean, and you have to be. And at the end of the day, considering there's so many concerns in the room of this many people, how many concerns would they be if everybody was in the county and none of y'all got to ask questions or have a say before they were in the ground? And that's my problem. Nobody got a say or discussion or to ask questions or to look at any of these documents before they were in the ground, and you can't touch them.
And I'll circle back to, I think, when you're at a name and that's not what's going on.
The way that it's being put in the cities and towns where the public is not being notified,
Well, that's been stated.
Surveillance.
the way that it's been,
Here is the question.
and now that we've got them in Eminence, to see them pass in Pleasureville and to see them pass in Campbellsburg means that if those people don't know what meeting that's going to be at, if they don't know when to show up, if they don't know when to speak out, the only reason we know is because he wrote a newspaper article. Not because y'all told us, not because the mayor told us, because he wrote a news article and it was left off the city webpage. I'm speaking, can you stop interrupting me?
And we called.
And the
said-
minutes were left off of the city website where they had entered a contract.
They think it was hidden and it was quiet, and it was never hidden, no, it wasn't quiet.
Well, it wasn't on the special agenda meeting minutes, and it wasn't, the minutes also weren't uploaded online. So whether you wanted to keep it quiet or not doesn't mean that the city didn't want to smoke. Because as you can see, there's concerns, and the people had a right to voice them before they were put in the ground.
Every meeting, regardless of what's put on the agenda, if you're absent, then you forfeit your right to talk about it.
People shouldn't have to babysit their representatives to ensure their civil rights aren't violated.
It's not being made.
You have continued to interrupt me when I'm speaking all day. If you don't respect me, that's fine, but as your role as the police chief of Eminence, I deserve the space to speak in my public forum that I'm hosting.
And
Thank you.
I have the right to rebut.
You don't have a right to speak over me. That's the difference. You don't have the power to speak over me when I'm speaking.
Or do you?
Actually, I do. I have the power to finish what I'm saying without letting you continue to interrupt me, and there you go again. It's a lack of respect for me that you have bestowed upon this entire community by violating their rights and building mass surveillance platforms of their data without allowing them an opinion. You disagree with me.
Can I say something just a minute? So where I am, I feel like I need to learn more.
Exactly.
How do we learn more? I'm in a different community, but I guess we have the same thing. David, I know, has spent hours. David's,
Yeah, you took the microphone away from me when I was trying to warn
Well,
people about this at the No Pigs
yeah.
protest. So
Yeah, because-
you might have learned some more if you wouldn't have done that.
well, David, the reason that was because we were having the No Kings protest, and you had 2 minutes. But let's don't talk about that. That's not important right now. I know you've done a lot of studying about it, and so have others. So how do we get more information so that, you know?
We have to wait on the police contract, so that, and I'll put that out, obviously. Ed's gonna send us, information, and I'll get you court cases with the argument. Adrian Southworth is gonna try to make it to the fiscal court meeting with us so that she can speak on the constitutionality, as a Republican senator, like you would think.
She's not a senator now, is she?
They got a yes
She's not
man.
mine anymore. She's
Yeah.
They rearranged it. That's right.
I would encourage you to go right now.
Sorry, Ed.
To the person that was just speaking, I'm wondering if she has any questions right now. Happy to discuss it.
Yeah, he said, do you have any questions right now? He's happy to answer questions.
I don't know.
It's overwhelming, you know, it's overwhelming.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a
You know,
lot.
I want to say, is this good or bad? And I'm not ready to do that yet.
That's totally fair.
Yeah.
We just want
Yeah.
to get you
Exactly.
interested. So I
This
would
is really
encourage you
smart.
to look at Flock's website. I would encourage you to understand what they.
And that's our point. We should have got this opportunity before we were stuck.
The website
Okay,
for
so let's don't argue about that. I think
Understandable.
Now
but
we
I still
want
think
to
it's
know,
important
yeah.
to
And-
look at what they're saying nonetheless. And then also, the local news is a good resource for understanding the current goings on.
Yeah.
There are success stories. I'm not out here saying that there are not success stories with this technology. I am simply pointing out my concerns with regard to how much of that data is held. So that's my personal belief. I encourage you to develop your own. And you know, I think there are pros and cons. Nothing is straightforward. If we
I'm
think
just
this
beginning
is a
here, but
simple,
I
straightforward
personally-
issue, we're not understanding it really fully.
Yeah.
So
Personally, I'm torn between.
What's up, my dude?
Between thinking that everywhere I go, somebody's taking my picture or whatever.
Oh, you all
and
get
my
ready to
phone.
go?
I mean, I'm torn between, gee, that's creepy, and gee, that's helping me.
How
I
much
don't
longer are
know.
you
I think we're
gonna
all
be
kind
here?
of.
I don't know. I love you.
Well,
You all have fun, okay?
I don't have it.
You made something for me. What'd you make?
So I don't have
I
it.
love it. That's beautiful. I'm gonna call you when I leave here.
Are you recording us right now?
Yeah, this is live for other people that are in here asking questions and stuff too. And then this is on Zoom for the public too. They could be on here.
I appreciate what you do.
We'll make like little clips of different education parts of it, you know? Education clips, like about sections.
all right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap us up. Thank you all for being here. I'm gonna close
Thank
down
you
the
all
Zoom.
for-
If you all want to talk with each other, please feel free. Take some donuts, take some water. Thank you for showing up. We appreciate your all's time, and we'll be here if you have any other questions.
I'm gonna end this and get some email addresses for that information, but if you all want the information that we're gonna send around, send me an email at destiny@therevolutionky, and I will send you all the information that Ed sends me as well. Okay? And I'll get some clips of this. I can't believe that fucking cop, dude. He was really trying to be extra with me today. I think I'm about to get targeted.